Hey guys, Jeff here. Made a real quick video on a document called Working with Real Estate Agents. Now keep in mind, this is not a contract. It's just a document that explains the several types of relationships with real estate agents. The North Carolina Real Estate Commission requires all real estate agents to share this document with their potential clients and for their clients to sign the document at first substantial contact. And first substantial contact simply means a time that occurs when either the consumer or the real estate agent begins to act as if an agency relationship exists, or when the consumer begins to disclose personal or confidential information to the real estate agent. In North Carolina, should you decide to have a real estate agent assist you in buying or selling a home, there are several types of representation. It is important as a buyer or a seller to understand these different roles that an agent or their firm can assume. The first thing to keep in mind, and a lot of folks don't know this, is that buyers and sellers are represented by the firm, not the individual agent. Again, I'll repeat that. Buyers and sellers are represented by the firm, not the individual agent. So if you decide to list your home or buy a home with me, you are technically represented by the firm I work with, which is Clay & Associates. This is not unique to our company, but it's North Carolina law. So if you decide to list your home with Susie Agent from XYZ Realty, for example, your agreement isn't with Susie Agent, it's with XYZ Realty. That's not to say you wouldn't work with anybody but Susie, but technically the firm represents you. So if something happens with Susie, you're still represented by the firm. So if we scroll down, we'll see here underneath sellers, this section right here. Seller's agent. As a seller, once you sign the listing agreement, the firm that you're listing your home with becomes a seller's agent. Along with marketing your property for sale, agents and firms have certain duties in association with the sale of your home. These duties include promote your best interest, be loyal to you, follow your lawful instructions, provide you with all material facts that could influence your decisions, use reasonable skill, care, and diligence, and account for all monies they handle for you. Now let's pause here for a moment and define what a material fact is. A material fact is a fact that is important, significant, or essential, and you deciding whether to continue or not to continue in a transaction. Material fact examples can include a buyer's losing their job and therefore not being able to get the home loan, or a leaky roof, or a home having termites. Again, a material fact is a fact that will help you decide to whether or not continue with the transaction. And once you sign a listing agreement with the firm or their agents cannot give out confidential information about you or your property without your permission. But until you sign a listing agreement, you should avoid sharing any information with them that you would not want a buyer to know. And that pretty much sums up the seller section here. If we move down here, a section called dual agent. From time to time, a firm may list a property for sale and may have a buyer for that property. Since the home for sale and the buyers are represented by the same firm, this is called dual agency. An example of this could be this. An agent named Jeff, who works with Clay & Associates, has a listing for sale, and another agent named Joseph, who also works with Clay & Associates, may have a buyer who wants to buy Jeff's seller's home. Jeff represents the seller and Joseph represents the buyer, and each agent are loyal to their client. But since Jeff and Joseph work with Clay & Associates, the transaction would be under the same firm, therefore it is considered dual agency. Also, speaking of dual agency, there's a special type of dual agency called designated dual agency. Designated dual agency occurs when a firm designates an agent to represent the seller and a different agent is designated to represent the buyer instead of one agent representing the seller and the buyer simultaneously. And this allows each agent to fully represent their clients. That pretty much sums up the dual agent section here. We'll also see dual agent, if we scroll down, we'll see it again down here. It's just basically a repeat of what I just went over. So scrolling on down, we'll see a section here called buyer's agent or buyer's agent. As a buyer, you have several options for representation by agents and their firms. By law in North Carolina, and a lot of folks don't know this, is that all agents and firms in North Carolina must represent the seller until you sign a buyer's agency agreement with the agent and their firm. This applies to any seller in North Carolina, not just sellers under the firm such as Clay & Associates. These sellers can be from Boone, North Carolina, Wilmington, North Carolina, or Carolina Beach. The point is that all real estate agents and their firms represent all sellers until you sign a buyer's agency agreement, even if the agents or firms don't even know the sellers. This can be confusing when you first think about it, but it's how the laws are written in North Carolina. But buyers do have an option for representation known as buyer's agency, and this means the real estate agent and their firm works for you as the buyer. A buyer's agent can be compensated in several ways, but the most common thing I see is that the seller's agent or the seller's firm will offer compensation to the buyer's agent, and this compensation comes from the seller's commission from the sale of the property. This is typically done through the local multiple listing agreement and the firms that participate in the multiple listing service. If a seller or their agent does not offer compensation, a buyer's agent could also be compensated by the buyers directly. I've never been involved in a transaction like this, but it is possible. As with seller's representation, buyer's agency agreements are also between the clients and the firm. As your buyer's agent, the agent and firm have certain duties to you as a buyer, and these include promote your best interest, be loyal to you, follow your lawful instructions, provide you with all material facts that could influence your decisions, use reasonable skill, care, and diligence, and account for all monies they handle for you. Until you have agreed that an agent or firm represents you as a buyer's agent orally or in writing, you should avoid telling them anything that you would not want the seller to know. Verbal agreements for this are allowed, but before you submit any offers on a property, you must sign a written buyer's agency agreement if being represented by a real estate agent and their firm. That pretty much sums up this section here. Again, we've already covered the dual agent portion earlier. Scrolling on down, this is what we call a seller's agent working with a buyer. That's also known as seller sub-agency. And should you decide not to sign a buyer's agency agreement with an agent who is assisting you when purchasing a property, you will be in a seller sub-agency relationship. In this case, the agent must still be fair to you and provide you with material facts about the property, such as a leaky roof. But in this case, the agent represents the seller, not you, in the purchase of the property. So they are required to get the best possible price and the best possible terms for the seller. They are also required to provide the seller with any information about you that could assist the seller in the sale of his or her property. You should avoid any sharing of anything with the seller sub-agent that you do not want the seller to know. That pretty much sums this up right here. This right here is a section called Disclosure of Seller Sub-Agency. Is basically when you decide not to work with a real estate agent, you would click this box here, and I would, of course, as an agent, I would click and put my initials here, but I would put my initials here regardless whether you will or will not work with an agent. This section right here, I will have filled this out for you already. Just in this case here, I know this is an old date right here, so disregard that. But scrolling on down, if you do decide or do not decide to work with an agent, you will still need to sign here. I would fill this person out right here for you already, your name. You would click and just sign right here, super simple to do. Put today's date in. I already have this information here filled out for you as well. And you'll notice here, disclosure of seller sub-agency is the same exact thing as we just saw right here. And the reason for that is when the North Carolina Real Estate Commission brought this document out, it was in a brochure. So now it's just been turned into a PDF, so you'll see it twice. And usually what happened was the first 3 pages, the seller or the buyer or the person not wanting to work with the buyer would keep this portion here, pages 1, 2, and 3. And the real estate agent would keep page 4 right here. That's why you see 2 of these. So again, you'll see right here where if you do or do not decide to work with an agent, you would check this box here. And of course, whether you do decide to work with an agent or you don't decide to work with an agent, you would still click on these boxes here. I'd have that filled out for you. All you would have to do is click and it'd email right back to me. So I hope this video helps. Should you need any more information on this, please give me a call, send me a text, or send me an email. I look forward to speaking with you soon, and I hope you guys have a great day.